Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next panel, Human Connections, the Force Multiplier in Africa.
Okay, I'm out of your hair.
Nothing less than fantastic.
That's the thing about these events, you bump into types of people.
Good morning. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I see a lot of you standing out there, so come on in, join us. There are plenty of seats still. Come on in. Don't be scared. All right, so good morning, everyone. I am Lieutenant Colonel Tigner, and I'll be your moderator this morning for our Warriors Corner on building human connections through medical readiness exercises in Africa. Our presenters this morning are Lieutenant General Izagera, the Surgeon General of the Army, Major General Gainey, the commander of CTAF-AF, and Colonel Togiola, the Director of Public Health Engagements for CTAF-AF. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Izagera.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? Well, I am so excited to be with you this morning to talk about something that I am really passionate about as the Surgeon General and as a physician that's had the opportunity to serve in the Army for the last 30 or so years. Because this is really an area where Army medicine intersects with executing the commander's intent, in this instance, General Gainey's intent, downrange on behalf of our soldiers in building capacity, capability, and relationships. And I want to start off with you with a story of how I first came to learn about these sort of exercises. I was in training. I was a resident, which means I was just about a third-year resident, just about finishing my medical training. And, you know, I think I felt like I had learned a lot in the hospital, but I really wanted to understand what it was to be an Army physician. And so I had an opportunity to go on an engagement in Eritrea, Africa. And I was there for 6 weeks. And I came to understand the importance of partnering with military medical personnel from other nations. I came to understand what a reward could come from learning about how to deliver medical care and address the health of a population, and really that importance of how addressing the health of a population could help stabilize a nation. And so that's where a lot of the strength of the MedRecs are. So the reason we participate in MedRecs really has to do with building those strategic relationships, building trust. And if you build trust, then you can have the place to collaborate from. And if you collaborate, you can actually have interoperability. So in the CTAF region, where they've looked at this being particularly effective, is in having a different approach to coming in and countering violent extremist organizations, how to address the potential of countering regional conflicts prior to them becoming armed conflicts, and really how to help build capacity. So the thing about partnerships is that when we address really difficult problems, having to not go it alone, being able to learn from our partner nations and being able to build upon what happens. And so that's why I'm so encouraged about what's been going on in CTAF. And you're going to have a chance to see a little bit about that today, about not only how it helps in the partner nations, but how, as the commander of the medical command, it helps us have our personnel be able to engage in a way that they had signed up for, if you will. One of the reasons people sign up to serve in the Army in the medical field is because they're going to have a chance to live beyond the average, to be able to not only care for soldiers in our own nation, but hopefully make a difference across the world. And so there's different ways we do this. One of the ways we do this, and we engage the total force, is through the state partnership programs. So across the continent of Africa, there are 14 different states, as well as the District of Columbia, that partner with 21 different nations. And where this is so important, it comes down to that trust, because those relationships go on year after year. Many of us in Compo 1 don't have the luxury of being in a position where we're going to be able to have that ongoing relationship, but our National Guard partners do. And so through those relationships, they are able to engage across the spectrum and give some of our Compo 1 partner as well a chance to really have experiences in these areas. So not only do we build the partnerships, but then we also have the experience of being able to provide medical care shoulder to shoulder with local clinicians in environments that may be more similar to those we would see in combat. We also have a chance to learn about what capabilities partner nations have and where our talents can complement each other. Sometimes we get very comfortable delivering medical care in a place with all the bells and whistles, so to speak. And if you've had a chance to go down range and deliver medical care, rarely is it with all the bells and whistles. So sometimes we've lost our capability to bring innovation in that space. So this also helps there. And then finally, and this is something I learned when, again, I was overseas, some of the biggest impacts from MedRecs can be with non-human species, if you will. When I was in Afghanistan, and we had a chance to engage in this way sometimes, I learned that as the physician, I was actually the limited practitioners. So I got to learn from my veterinary friends how to immunize cows, how to worm camels. I think that's what we were doing, and I would advise stand back if you are offered that opportunity. And then we gave something to the chickens. I'm not quite sure what it was, but basically I did what my vets told me to do. And but if you think about it, in those areas, we were actually helping the livelihood and helping build capacity in the livelihood of those areas in a way that wouldn't have been able to be done otherwise. We were also able to have that common language of medical. So even if we weren't already discussing through the military channels or even diplomatic channels, we were able to engage in medical and sometimes open a door through those relationships where then that could be built upon. So there are a lot of ways that these MedRecs can help not only with the retention of the medical personnel so that you have them present if we are required to help treat our own troops. We can help build relationships and capacity, because if a nation has medical, education, financial security, they're going to be less susceptible to violent extremists that would want to come in and do harm. So it's almost like seeing the smoke on the horizon and being able to snuff out problems before they become a fire. And then there is actually contributing to a more stable world, which I think we can all agree, if we can have peace through deterrence, if we have peace through that shared capability and shared capacity and strength, then we are in a much better space. So I could not be more grateful for the opportunity that we've had to interact and partner with General Gainey and his team. And just to bring it together for a closing thought, of taking the MedRecs from what they may have been when I started 30 years ago, where we went out when we had the opportunity, to putting more planning into it and treating medical just like we do other effects. We do it in an intentional, nested, targeted way to achieve a desired effect towards the commanding general's intention. So we are grateful to be part of it. We're grateful to partner with what's such a wonderful organization, and we look forward to the opportunities going forward.
Good morning. I'm Andy Gainey. I'm the Southern European Task Force Commanding General. And what I will tell you is that I couldn't be more honored and thrilled to finally be a part of something I've always wanted to be a part of, is the Warriors Corner. On the behalf of General Williams, the Commanding General for the United States Army, Europe and Africa, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today and taking out time. I know it's a really busy conference that's going on. But just thank you for being here so that we can talk about some of the important things that we do in CTAF Africa. This event gives us the opportunity to really discuss how United States and African partners build medical readiness together on the continent of Africa. I want to personally thank Lieutenant General Zagiri for taking the time out of her tremendously busy schedule to help us showcase what I believe is one of the most important things we do with the Medical Readiness Program in Africa. And so, ma'am, thank you so much for being here. It is quite an honor to have the Surgeon General of the Army with us, and it means a lot to us. I also want to thank our own officer, Kelly Togolia, in our surgeon office for being here today to really get into the details of what we do when it comes to this strategic program that we do. So Lieutenant General Geary and myself, we said that when we're all done and all the questions come, they're all going to go to Kelly. She's our expert. So for those of you that don't know much about CTAF Africa, we are the only Army 2-star headquarters that wakes up every day and goes to sleep thinking about Africa every day. And on a given day, we have over 2,000 U.S. Army soldiers on the continent doing phenomenal work, as well as posturing to advance and defend the U.S. partnered strategic interests. We synchronize Army operations, activities, investments in Africa, and while providing a scalable crisis response options for the African commander, General Langley. One of CTAF Africa's core mission sets is really to build and sustain strong partnerships on the continent with our African partners and allies. What this does for us, it enhances the regional security and readiness and giving us the resources that we need to achieve some of the greatness that's going on in the continent. But a great example of how we do this is the Medical Readiness Exercise Program, where we collaborate with the African nations to exchange best medical practices as well as strengthen the ties that we have with them. As I approach my first 90 days here in command, it's already clear to me that the Medical Readiness Exercise Program is one of the most important ways that the United States Army engages with our African partners. Last year, we conducted over 7 medical readiness exercises in 6 African nations, featuring over 8,000 patient encounters. That's unprecedented, to be able to reach out and touch that many Africans in so many exercises. As we were able to build partnership capacity, strengthen the relationships within Africa, and most importantly, build readiness within our formations. These exercises also enhance the capacity of our partners to conduct humanitarian crisis response missions, which is very important in Africa, while simultaneously providing tangible support to our shared goals of increasing regional stability. Medical readiness exercises are one of the most consequential exercises that we conduct. The enhancements of these abilities to work together in the event of a global crisis. If you recall, in 2014, this headquarters, CTAF headquarters, deployed to Liberia in response to the Ebola crisis. It was a traumatic event that happened at the time, and it was the first ever led U.S. military operation. General Williams, the commanding general, was a part of that, who is now our USARAF commander. This event was a support to rid the disease-driven humanitarian mission where U.S. military medical personnel worked side by side with their Liberian counterparts to treat patients and train first responders on how to limit the spread of this disease. And why do I say all of that? Because in a world where the U.S. military plays a key role in coordinated global responses to medical crises, such as COVID-19, we must train to always be ready for the unknown. We must be ready for any deployment at any given time, to rapidly integrate with our partners at the point of need. And these exercises are a key step to building the foundational relationships and interoperability that make effective responsibles achievable. A good example of what our soldiers are doing on the African continent to build readiness occurred just a few weeks ago. An Angola woman suddenly went into a cardiac arrest on one of our exercises in Luanda Military Hospital, and a U.S. Army medic knew exactly what to do. Amid the noise and urgency of the emergency room, the medic, as well as his teammates, saved her life. Soldiers are building real-world readiness they could not achieve during home station training. To the medical professionals here and abroad, you make all of this very possible for us. This is your program, and I want to personally thank you all for your incredibly hard work for these partnership events. And so now, I'm going to let the real experts speak. It's time for us to get the real experts here on the table. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly. But I think before we do that, we're going to do a video.
I've been brought here as part of the surgical team to exchange ideas and learning from the Angolans on how they do things and building up a healthcare relationship between the United States and Angola.
Having an exercise like this work in a facility that not only supports the military but also the civilian population really integrates beautifully into the rest of the work that we are doing in supporting health.
Past 2 weeks, American soldiers worked alongside with the Chadian Army's health services, the seventh time since 2014.
So it's been nice to see what they do to manage complex injuries and how they adapt and overcome.
This partnership is very important because we teach our soldiers to be ready in the hospital and in the mission areas.
Experience has been really great to discuss how we do dentistry between the forces. We value that input in terms of getting an alternative perspective.
We all speak the common language of medicine. We've been able to integrate into their teams pretty seamlessly. It's a good experience all around. There are things that can challenge you as a surgeon.
Is partnership in action because it builds capability, long-lasting relationship.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. It's awesome.
Good morning. At this year's AUSA, one of the consistent themes that we hear about is how the Army is transforming and modernizing its systems and weapons. But how does modernization happen in the field of medicine? We can surround a medic and a physician with advanced machinery, but in the end, the most essential system in medicine is its people. Their hands, their minds are the most intricate and effective tool we have. And it's imperative that we keep them sharp and always ready to respond to any crisis. Past experience should teach us that the middle of the crisis is not the best time to exchange business cards. So what are we doing now to build those relationships, to create the networks, and to build those partnerships so that in a time of crisis, we're not introducing ourselves to each other for the first time? To this end, the CTAF surgeon plans, synchronizes, and executes medical readiness exercises with African partners annually. These medical readiness exercises, or MEDREXs, enable U.S. forces to provide medical care in a deployed environment alongside African medical professionals. MEDREXs are unlike the typical training seen at such exercises or rotations at RTC or NTC, where medical scenarios are often simulated with mannequins or soldiers in moulage. In a MEDREX, an ER physician is responding to trauma. That medic is applying a tourniquet above a fracture. That dentist is saving somebody's teeth who sustained facial trauma. And our surgeons, anesthetists, and our OR techs are performing open abdominal surgeries. Armed simply with the knowledge that they have gained through school, their years of experience, a stethoscope, and maybe a Gerber, MEDREXs immerse medical teams in a dynamic environment that requires critical thinking and innovative problem solving. These medical teams are often faced with situations they've rarely, if ever, experienced before. Since 2017, the MedRex program has treated over 40,000 patients, spanning more than 20 medical, dental, and veterinary specialties across 9 African countries. In order to do this, CTAF-AF has to leverage a total Army approach in the planning and execution of MedRexes. Active duty units such as 30th and 44th Medical Brigades, the Medical Readiness Command Europe, engage with partners in Burundi, Ghana, and Zambia. Meanwhile, the National Guard State Partnership Program plays a vital role in maintaining and sustaining enduring partnerships in Senegal, Rwanda, Morocco, and South Africa. The State Partnership Program is uniquely positioned to support emerging partners as well, such as Zambia, who recently signed an agreement with North Carolina, and Cabo Verde with New Hampshire. The U.S. Army Reserve Medical Command and units from 3rd and 807th Medical Command Deployment Support have conducted MedRexes in Angola and Chad, and augment National Guard units as needed to fill capability gaps. Together, all these U.S. medical teams spend cumulatively 6 months out of the year on the continent building relationships and building readiness. Each exercise is uniquely designed in consultation with our African partners to address region-specific challenges such as managing tropical diseases, responding to outbreaks, or simply delivering surgical, medical, dental, or veterinary care in rural or under-resourced areas. By focusing on the most pressing health concerns in each country, we ensure the knowledge exchange during the MedRex is relevant and impactful for the local need. For the U.S., the MedRex sharpens our ability to operate in diverse environments, exercise our collective and individual tasks. For our African partners, it offers access to U.S. medical expertise and joint problem solving for those regional specific health challenges. But really, we can't just take my word for it. In any good partnership, it's important to hear what the other has to say. We need to have dialogue to get feedback to ensure that the program is meeting the partner's objectives. We were unable to have our Ghanaian partners join us on the stage today. However, we are fortunate to have input from 2 of their finest, Major General Wayman Owusi and Commander James Agri Orleans. Major General Owusi serves as the head of the Ghana Armed Forces Medical Services and has helmed the continual improvement of the MedRex program at the 37th Military Hospital in Accra. Commander Agri Orleans is an orthopedic surgeon who has participated in numerous MedRexes and served as a MedRex planner for the past 3 years. Together, they have witnessed the evolution of the MedRex, serving as an example of U.S. and Ghanaians working together, using military medicine as a tool. And this morning, I have the honor of being able to share with you their feedback. For the Ghanaians, the MedRex aims to build readiness, interoperability, and mutual skill development, goals that they are confident both the U.S. and Ghana value. MedRex has helped operational readiness of Ghana Armed Forces Medical Services. In their words, our healthcare workers, through the MedRex, have improved their skills starting from the planning phase. The side-by-side clinical work has exposed us to U.S. military medical practices, and we've adopted best practices in trauma care, dental care, maternal health, and more. They really view the MedRex as highlighting the importance of strengthening collaboration with neighboring countries, emphasizing regional readiness. In terms of interoperability, they believe that we are getting closer to having U.S. and Ghana Armed Forces working seamlessly together. They state, "We have refined our standard operating procedures and built lasting relationships during and after MedRexes. These interactions provide valuable insights into operating in resource-limited environments, boosted morale, and enhanced their medical practice." Additionally, the MedRex provides an opportunity for enhanced training and skills development for the Ghanaian military healthcare workers. The integration of training such as tactical combat casualty care and disaster management into the MedRex has significantly enhanced the Ghana Armed Forces capabilities. They report that advanced simulation systems and mannequins have improved their in-service training and skills development, making them better prepared to respond to crisis with improved outcomes. The exchange of knowledge through the MedRex has benefited both sides. U.S. teams have gained insights into managing tropical diseases and navigating the provision of healthcare in challenging terrains, while Ghana Armed Forces has strengthened their own capabilities. They believe this partnership fosters trust, teamwork, and professional growth on both sides. They conclude that the MedRex has elevated Ghanaian military healthcare, ensuring their medical forces are more prepared, efficient, and adaptable. They look forward to continuing the partnership between our two countries, which benefits not only the Ghanaian military, but their country as well. And for this, they say, Meda Munyana Ase. Translated, I thank you all. I'd like to leave you with this. CTAFAF MedRex program is not just a military exchange. It's a diplomatic tool that yields long-term strategic benefits. By prioritizing relationship building, the U.S. Army is positioning itself as a trusted partner and leader on the African continent. Investing in human connections, it means making a strategic bet on the future. This program extends beyond military cooperation. It builds a network of partners who share our vision for a secure and prosperous Africa. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to go with a few key takeaways, and then we'll go into our Q&A session. So we have medical readiness exercises, build Army readiness. As we heard throughout each of the keynote speakers today, medical readiness exercises provide important care to patients while building partner capacity to conduct crisis response. And also, medical readiness exercises build multinational relationships and interoperability that are critical when coordinating global response to emergent health issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we will open it up for questions. And if you could, there should be microphones in the coming through the audience. And please say your name, and then we will direct your question to a panelist, please. Do you have mine? Do you have it? Great. Okay.
Hi, I'm Patty Nyberg with Task and Purpose. I'm wondering if you can talk about how you're seeing climate change and natural disasters affect some of the health issues that you're seeing in some of the exercises in Africa and what you're learning.
Certainly. In a number of locations where we are conducting medical exchanges, the environment and climate change does come up, right? So mosquito-borne illness, vector illnesses, and we are seeing our partners requesting more of a preventive medicine capability to be exercised during the medical readiness exercises.
And really that comes across globally. So when we look at medical readiness exercise from a strategic level, we have the positive support that we can provide in the areas of climate. Also, women, peace, and security are very heavily part of the planning for the medical readiness exercises to ensure that we're looking at, from a wellness perspective, how are we supporting the wellness of the total population, again, nested with the effects we're looking to achieve in that area. And oftentimes, there are climate change implications of those engagements.
Panel, thank you all for the presentation. It's really, really interesting. I want to tuck into something that Kelly said at the end, but it's a question for you, sir. You talk about this being an investment as we're betting on developing our strategic relationships in Africa. In an area of diminished resources, can you draw the line, sir, of how we're able to take what we're doing with these medical exercises and translate them to improving those relationships? Because we know that Africa is a space where competition is significant, both with China and with Russia and the work they're doing there. How are we able to translate this into doing something larger?
That's a great question, Monty. What I will tell you, and I'll let Kelly add on to this, but anytime you have the ability to affect the lives of over 40,000 Africans in the course of 3 to 4 years, you're building access and influence, you're strengthening the relationships, and you're building the capacity not only of the African forces, but of the U.S. forces. And these are some really important keys because, like I said earlier, the medical readiness exercises is one tool, one resource that we use amongst many other that's combined with everything from the security force assistance, the civil military operations. So it's a piece of a bigger whole that really gives us that ability to connect and strengthen the relationships with our partners and maintain that regional stability that we're really looking for.
Thank you, sir. I think from a medical standpoint, the U.S. is really operating in a space where we're not seeing necessarily our competitors. And so by building those, working alongside them, we are building those relationships. You know, I think our competitors are very content with purchasing something, dropping it off, and see you later, right? That gives them, that's a transactional relationship, right? What we're looking to do with the medical readiness exercises is really build those relationships that are enduring and that are sustained through repeated engagements.
Good morning. I'm Major General Ferris. I just happen to be the Surgeon General's Chief of Staff. But I'm also an Army National Guard officer, and I've also been very involved in our state partnership program. If the three of you could speak to global health engagements, partnerships, and the trust we build in the soft power space of medicine and how important it is, sort of leverages on a previous question, but how we can leverage that space. I don't know that we capitalize it on enough, but it is absolutely a space that we can go into countries that may be a little bit unstable. They're always willing to take medical, always willing to partner. And how might we be able to leverage that more strategically as an Army?
Yeah, so I think maybe we'll go strategic and bring it on down. So appreciate the question because it really gets a bit to what is our return on investment? What is our value proposition? And one of the challenges we've had with MedRecs over the years as they've developed from MedRets to all the different names, medical diplomacy, is how do we assess the effects? And it's exciting looking across the globe because there's places in the Pacific where we see this happening, where they're measuring not only the impacts of how are we improving our knowledge and understanding of logistics systems, how are we understanding blood capacity, but then really what you're talking about, getting to how are we building trust and what is the impact? It's been said that the impression that individuals have the biggest impact on some of these exercises is on those people who are 6 years old and less, because as they have see relationships with our nation, especially those that go over time, what seeds are being planted that then there will be more likelihood for partnerships, for alliances, and for things of that nature. So I think the tangible of measuring that continues to be something that we are seeking after. It's one of those, one of the challenges of a lot of public health initiatives. How do you measure what you're preventing? But I think that we are seeing these things come to bear when countries are more willing to engage in conversations across other areas of time.
I mean, that's a really good question because, we ask ourselves every day, how can we do more of these? Unfortunately, we have limited resources. Like I said, over the course of the last 2 years, we've probably hit about anywhere between 10 to 14 countries, and in 25, we're going to hit about 8 countries. The countries in Africa, they're begging for this capability. And the heartbreaking aspect of it is you just don't have enough to get out there and get around. But to the strategically important countries that we target and that we really do these, it builds a level of trust and it builds a level of capability that I think really sets a whole new bar, because if you can get into one of the African countries, spend those 2 weeks with them, teach those basic skills while our soldiers are learning, their soldiers are learning. The problem that we see is the resources when we leave, they don't always have those resources. But it's a great question because we're still trying to figure out how can we best do that and do more, because we know that our competitors aren't doing this, and we know that when we do this, it's a resource where we have defense chiefs, senior leaders from nations saying, let us really, really come back to this country to do more. And I know Kelly works with the day-to-day planning conferences where she sits down and talks to this at the tactical level, but great question because we wish we could do more of this.
Each year, CTAFAF holds a Global Health Engagement and Medical Readiness Exercise Concept Development event. We held ours in September, and we had representatives from 15 African countries present. Those who have a state partner, we invited their state partner to come. And really what we do with this at the CDE is facilitate communication, the identification of medical goals, and implementing partners. So during the CDE, they're creating a 3-year plan. That 3-year plan gets shared with the partner, it's shared with the SPP or the executing unit, shared with the embassy. And so each time we execute an engagement with that country, we're able to kind of go back to our map, right, our plan, and make sure that we are continually progressing towards an end state. So working towards having a tangible outcome for that country, and the CDE helps to facilitate that.
Looks like we have time for one more question. So last question right here.
Hey, good morning, panel. AUSA Coates from Maryland Guard. So thank you for bringing that tie into the National Guard and state partnership. I would also argue with you, sir, respectfully, that there is another 2-star headquarters that does think about Africa on a daily basis, and that's CJTF HOA on continent. I've deployed there. We've had teams that deployed there for the past 14 years. So my question, though, is for Colonel T. Ma'am, so female genital mutilation rates in Africa and some of the East African countries are upwards of 80 to 90%, just due to some of the cultural and historical trends that we've seen through some of the African nations. Do you see FGM as a health issue? And then outside of awareness through WPS events, what is CTAFAF or Africa doing to address those issues?
So I can speak from the MedRex perspective. The issues or the capabilities that are addressed during the exercise are really driven by the African partner. And so there is a delicate balance there between addressing the issues that we see as Americans as being maybe an affront to our sensibilities, vice what's important to the African partners. So certainly if it's something that's important to our African partners, then we work to address it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much today, and thank you to our panel for a great presentation. if you would like to, you can join us at the kiosk located right behind the Warriors Corner, and you can talk about CTAF, medical readiness, and building human connections. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you next time.